going on was delayed by a week, at least. So yeah, I pushed up, I think it was yesterday or Monday, I pushed up like all of my binary changes plus like miscellaneous changes around the AR repo. Now the front end can handle like eager construction of all types of binary data. Like it can combine them into one single bit string and then use that. That was required work for the binary generators to be implemented. So now I have a working initial implementation of the binary generators, and I'm working on just validating that the behavior is identical to what's in Erlang. They turned out to be really, really annoying because it turns out that like binary patterns in binary generators function differently from everywhere else in the language. So it turned out to be a bit more work than I expected to sort of get that working.
For mine, I did get some time to work on the Rust update. Not too much. My like Xcode thing was messed up or something, so it took a while to get it to build. It turned out that since we like inlined the arena allocator because it's like hidden inside of compiler, ours was like so out of date that I had to just like refresh and update it because a bunch of this stuff that we were using from rawvec just doesn't exist. And I looked and like upstream just stopped using rawvec. So I'm like, oh, what's the new method? And like they didn't. They used a new extension to box to do it. And so I think I updated it right, but I didn't go through the trouble to try to figure out which version of it that Paul forked to see if I missed like an important change. I just took their upstream and I'm hoping it works because it didn't give a compile error. Then I switched over. It looked like in May of last year, parking lot did get support for time on WASM, which was the reason why we had my fork. So I'm using upstream right now, but I haven't compiled far enough to see if it actually works, or if it works in the sense that like in 2019 there was a way that Rust on WASM could support instant, but you had to like use xargo to like recompile Rust to enable instant on WASM, and if that's why parking lot works, it won't work, and I'll have to update my fork. I switched it over to use the master branch of EIR to get your changes, since the whole point of this Rust was that we won't need a Lumen branch. I mean, we might in the future, but like for now, I don't want to update the branch, and I just want to see if I can get to work. And right now, I am just going through fixing that. The latest version of Allocator, which I do not know how to search through RFCs of like, this is how we changed it, because it's super annoying to figure out what they changed. It's just like, here's the current version of it. Sometimes I get lucky and I can find it with git log minus capital S and search for a string. But the new allocators, one, the name has changed, but two, allocinit is gone. And so like they're still initialized and uninitialized, but they're the zero. But like in place is just gone because like no one on the committee could be like, in place never makes sense, because in place is not try to do in place like realloc does in a C API. It is literally like, if you cannot in place, we're dead, panic. And so they just got rid of it. So that lowers the amount of stuff we have, but I have to map all our names to the correct thing. Mostly it's just deleting the placement in the init and seeing where it falls over. Some places we were using the allocinit thing to like, pre-zero or not zero the space. So I have to figure out what the equivalent of that is now.
There's a separate like C-Road variant.
Right. There was some discussion on the RFC of like, oh, if we did this as non-null, we could use write bytes, but it seems like they didn't go in. So because I think memory block is still a thing that didn't get taken away. So I'm not sure what it is. I have to figure that out. And then I accidentally broke my IntelliJ Elixir plugin on the last release, and so I need to fix that last night. So I didn't have time to work on it last night. But hopefully this Friday I'll be back to working on it again, and maybe I'll get through it. I don't know.
I sorry, I was on the Elixir Wizards podcast last Thursday, and I don't know when it's gonna be published, but there was
I think there's a pretty big delay on those, like at least a month, I think.
okay, so about a month out. But anyway, we spoke about Lumen for a little bit. So the question put to me was, when's Lumen coming out? And I was very non-committal on that. I did mention that V0.1, which is good enough to build some command line type stuff, is out, and that I mentioned that the kind of the bandwidth available to the team has unfortunately been less than what we want as of recently, or even say the past 6 months. Basically, just trying to let people know that's still under development, that if progress has been slow, it's because it has been slow because there hasn't been enough time available to you all to be working on it as much as you would like to. And kind of the reason for Lumen again, I think that question was put to me as well, like, why are we doing this? So that's kind of the summary of my discussion on Elixir Wizards. Beyond that, nothing else for me.
I hope we're not giving up like vaporware vibes.
Well, I mean, I think for some, and that was my whole concern around managing expectations, because when you come out with something, it's like, oh, this is awesome. When do I get to have it? And the longer it takes, regardless if it's being made better because it's taking longer, it can sometimes have that effect, right? Like people become, fatigued by not getting it in their hands. And so by the time they do get it in their hands, it's like, oh, okay, this was great, but they would have probably been more locked into it if they got in their hands quicker. However, I do think that we've been pretty good about not committing to any dates. Activity has been steady on, through these stand-ups, recording them, putting them out, responses back to anything that opens up on GitHub, although I think we still have that open PR. Luke, if you happen to have opportunity on Friday to take a look at that. Actually, did you get it? Let me open it up real quick. Did you get a chance to look at it? I haven't looked at it since last week. There's an open PR.
Okay. Yeah, I know. It's still the same one.
Okay. And then through the Twitter account, we're regularly putting out activity on the news updates that Lars is putting out. So I think for those that are paying attention, that they're probably seeing steady progress, steady activity. It doesn't look like it, but for those that only heard about us at ElixirConf a year and a half ago, yeah, they could probably have a bit of a vaporware type vibe. I do see like maybe once a month I'll do like kind of a state of Elixir type search across Lumen for different things. So I have a Lumen keyword highlighted on Slack, and I go through Elixir form and look on there, and people do recommend Lumen as a solution for certain things that people bring up. They say, hey, Lumen could be good for this whenever it comes out, type of thing. And I try to weigh in on that at that point to let people know that the project is still under active development. Ultimately, hopefully we're going to start to see this pan out in Q2, getting you guys back to more open source development and off of some of billable work, and that will hopefully help.
Once we can get to the point where I have a good feeling about after this change of this round of changes land from like the coach side, I have at least a reasonably good feeling about it, because that's hopefully going to sort out a lot of the issues that have been.
I think though it might just hit the tuple element problem. So
is Paul working on that, or?
I don't know if that's part of his change set or not. He was changing the types again, so maybe, but I'm not sure. Because like his set of changes was both type changes and the making the layer before we lower to the target generic, so that we don't depend on the WASM spec changing, and we can experiment on doing the equivalent of asyncify and looper ourselves if we need to as a temporary workaround, so we get WASM before someone has an implementation of the actual the event handler stuff.
Mm-hmm. Would Luke, are you more or less blocked on additional development on runtime until the compiler stuff gets merged?
I mean, I can keep porting the test to Erlang, but there's not a lot I can do, because right now for the test, like, I have to work around the tuple lowering problem by
Right.
using make tuple, which takes a list and turns it into a tuple. I can't take like normal code that has tuples and have it just work. Like, it has to be a weird conversion of Erlang or Elixir to make it work. So like, it's probably not worth it working on the mix task, because it's going to be rare to find Elixir code that will lower correctly.
So hopefully, it seems like Paul's getting towards the end of whatever, I think he's doing some sort of major architectural development stuff as current job. And so hopefully he's seeing the end of that and we'll be able to get past this. I'll try to follow up with him though, and really get a sense on where he's at in terms of his PR. Cause I still don't see it in Lumen. Like, it's sitting on his machine as far as I know. So we don't really have any sense on how massive this thing is going to be, but yeah. All right. Okay. Last thing was Lars was asking for people just to check out his news PR. I think Hans, you weighed in on it. I think Paul said he's going to. Luke, did you happen to see his request for that?
Yeah, I was surprised I had stuff in it, but I'll look.
I didn't see any of your stuff, Luke.
Okay. That I thought was true, because I'm like, I haven't done anything in a long time.
And there was only one commit for me, which was updating EIR to like the new nightly version, which is not exactly like an exciting change, but yeah.
All right. I will call it a day then. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.